I'm Danielle, and I'm an occupational therapist at Therapeutic Links. I'm here today to give you some tips and tricks to try if you have a kid or kiddos that are picky eaters. So the first thing I want you to think about is don't be afraid. This can start all the way back as soon as your children start to eat baby food. Whether it's store-bought or homemade, don't be afraid to add spices to the baby food. You can add cinnamon to applesauce or thyme to sweet potatoes. This is going to really help them learn to expand their palates and maybe make them a more adventurous eater as they continue on to solid foods and table foods. From there, what you can do is try to minimize your own anxiety about food. Children pick up on our anxiety all the time, and if they are sensing that you're anxious about what you're feeding them, they're going to feel anxious about it. The second thing is don't cater to their rigidity. I know that sounds hard, but catering to their rigidity just increases anxiety for everyone at the table, and we want to decrease anxiety around food and feeding. Finally, make sure that you serve your child the same food that you're serving your family. I know they're probably going to resist and the behavior might get worse before it gets better, but children really do thrive with a routine and consistency, and serving them the same thing that you serve your family is going to help them sort of understand the expectations around their role at the dinner table. Okay, so we've established that you want to serve your child the same food as you're feeding your family. Now that doesn't mean that we need to demand that they eat it. There are lots of ways to be creative about the ways that we can serve your child the same food as the family is eating without causing any upset or anxiety. For example, you can put the same food on their plate, but allow them to have their plate at arm's length. So maybe it being too close to them bothers them, but being far away lets them at least look at it and participate in the meal. You can let them choose one of the items off the plate to eat and just be happy with that. Or if your child has a favorite dip or topping or something like that, that can be something that can be added to every single meal, and that's something that's agreed upon ahead of time so that they know that they can pick and choose off their plate and they can dip it in their favorite ranch or ketchup or anything that works. You can also decrease portion size. Just because the whole family's eating peas doesn't mean that your child has to have an entire plate full of peas. 1 or 2 peas on the plate is still the same food that everyone else is eating, and that sort of decreases the demands that they participate in that. Also, you could present a platter in the middle of the table filled with everything that is going to be served for dinner, and let everyone at the table pick and choose what they want to put on their own plate, and that would be an okay idea too. I know my kids, they all have a favorite raw vegetable. So our rule is that if they don't particularly like the dinner that's being served that night, they can always have as much as they want of that raw vegetable in addition to dinner. So that's another thing that you could put in place to sort of expand on feeding them what the family is eating, but having them understand that there are exceptions and that we can make it work for them as well. All right, the third thing I want to talk about is having fun with food. Okay, so in order to have fun with food, there's lots of things you can do. One of the biggest things that get children excited about eating new foods is having them participate in the process. So gardening is a great thing that you guys can do as a family, and children really love getting out there and digging in the dirt, seeing seeds turn to plants and plants turn to fruits and vegetables. A lot of the times kids will eat foods out of the garden that they would never eat from a grocery store or off the table, and sometimes they pick it right off the plant and eat it before you can even get it in the house, and that's great. So that's something we want to encourage. Also cooking with your children. Anytime you can get them to help with cooking and they can be part of the process of making the food, they're going to be more excited to try it. You can also play with food. We do encourage you to remove food from the table if you're going to play with it. So you can make sensory bins out of beans or pasta, or even marshmallows or things like that. You can build structures out of hard spaghetti and play with those things. If budget is an issue and you don't want to buy food just to play with, you could even take leftovers out of the fridge that no one's going to eat and make some messy collage with food, and the kids would really like that. Another thing you can do is have pretend food to play with. Have the children play making dinner and serving dinner and feeding that food to other baby dolls or each other. Pretend play is a great way to sort of decrease the anxiety around food. Another idea that could be fun would be to go on sort of a food scavenger hunt. So if you know your children really like crackers, you can talk to them about, oh, I know you like crackers because crackers are square and they're crunchy and they're salty. Maybe we can go on a scavenger hunt and find something else in our kitchen that is square and crunchy. Or maybe we can be at the grocery store and find something that is square and crunchy that might taste really good too. And then you might end up trying some graham crackers or a granola bar or something like that. The next thing would be to always try to speak positively about food. It's super easy to say, like if your child came up to you and asked to try something, it would be really easy to say, oh, I don't know if you're gonna like this. I catch myself doing that sometimes with my kids and I'm like, wait, whoa, back up. So we try to keep things positive when we're talking about food. And anytime your child asks to try something, go ahead and let them try it. Even if they don't like it, that's okay. It takes multiple times trying a food before you sort of acquire the taste for a food. So sometimes on the first try, a child won't like something and that's okay. If your child refuses the food or says they don't like it, that doesn't mean you have to keep trying. Say something like, oh, I can tell your tummy doesn't want that today. We can try it again another time. So never put it off the table as an option, like never get rid of it as an option. Just kind of propose it as like, okay, well, we'll just try it again another time. Also keep in mind that our taste buds do change. Think about the things you didn't like when you were a kid that you eat now, and make that a part of conversation. Talk about the things that you didn't like, that you eat now, and how you had to keep trying them until you got to a point where you liked them, and then encourage your kids to do the same. The other thing you could do to talk positively about food is to look for books about eating and picky eaters. Miss Mayumi actually recommends a book called Gregory the Terrible Eater, so you might want to check that out as well. So what is normal? It is normal to have aversions to specific taste, textures, or smell. Everybody has them, and it wouldn't be abnormal for your child to have them either. It is also completely normal for a toddler to like something one week and absolutely hate it the next week. If your toddler can't get enough of bananas on Monday and by Friday he's telling you no bananas, that's okay. That's totally normal. Take bananas off the rotation for just a little bit, introduce a new food, and then bring bananas back in a little bit to try again. It is normal for our children to look to us as role models for food and eating. And so we really want to make sure we're modeling positive examples. And when we are eating the things that we're asking them to eat, even if that means that you're eating the chicken nuggets once in a while too, so they get the idea that you guys are a team and you're on the same page. Under no circumstances should you hide vegetables in their food. I know that you've probably heard this before, but if we're talking about somebody who has anxiety about food, the last thing they need to find out is that you're sneaking things into their food. They will feel lied to and they will not trust you again if you try to present new things to them. The best way to work on picky eating is to do it together in a trusting, safe environment where they can experiment and not feel nervous about what's happening. Remember that developing new habits takes time and breaking old habits takes longer. So be patient. All habits are hard to break. And just keep presenting things as you can and being really positive. There are some circumstances where you may need to seek additional help. If your child is so picky that every family dinner is disrupted and no one gets to eat what they need to eat, or you find that you can't go out in public to eat because your child will cause a scene or have a meltdown, that might be cause for concern and to maybe call an OT for some additional services. Or if you feel like your child is underweight or not getting the nutrients or vitamins that they need from the diet that they are eating, you can call an OT as well. Occupational therapists are trained in oral motor techniques and sensory processing techniques that can help to decrease rigidity and stress and anxiety about food. Also, some kids are just tactilely defensive. They don't like how it feels in their mouth or on their hands, and OTs can also work on that with your children. So I hope you find these tips and tricks helpful. Give us a call at Therapeutic Links if you're looking for more ideas or strategies, and I will talk to you later. Thanks!